Hey guys, here's one for my Colombians here and anyone who's outside Colombia and interested in news. You might have been hearing about an indigenous caravan heading for Bogota, the capital of Colombia. Now this ties in quite nicely with a previous video that I did called Indigenous, which I'll put a link up there and down in the description perhaps. And it's just this is all sort of culminating around and focusing on certain political ideologies and their activists using identity politics, probably even critical race theory, in the Colombian political sphere of activism. People, left-wing activists, liberals for you Americans, left-wing activists for us Europeans, the terminology, they are using indigenous people here in Colombia. They're using them quite effectively. Got a nice car alarm here. I need to get a new place to make these videos, I'm sorry. The guys turned it off. Indigenous people are being used very effectively as a wedge between the government and the fight against Marxists and left-wing guerrilla groups, terrorist organizations. At some point I need to be careful with these videos, so I need to watch what I'm saying, but I will put out the main opinions that I've got, and I feel for the indigenous people. I understand them. They are being victimized. By who they're being victimized, that's up for debate. But I definitely do not think anyone should be treated differently based on their race. Okay? Got some strange reflection in my glasses. Based on their race, okay? Okay, so the news is this Minga tribe from Cauca, which is southwest of Colombia. Their main issue is land. They want extra land dedicated to them as a racial group. They don't like a certain rich person nearby or in their land that owns some land. Apparently they were promised land. Promised, they never got it. And they've been trying to have direct negotiations with the president himself. So they were demanding this in their area. They went to Cali to meet him, and instead of him going himself, he sent a delegate, which they didn't like, so they didn't want to talk to him. And they decided to go on this massive caravan, a long caravan walking, apparently, although I've seen videos of them actually taking transport. So they made their way to Bogota, and they've entered Bogota now. Supposedly by left-wing reports to rapturous applaud, welcoming, like, I don't know, Jesus returning to Jerusalem, something like that, like a savior, cheering and so on, which is not hard to believe really, because Bogota is a left-wing cesspool, and they've got their unions, they've got their activist groups that they can just call out at a whim. So I can believe that they were lining the street and cheering. So they made their way, they winded through Bogota, made their way to the center. They always make their way down through the Septima, which is the main street, the avenue here in Bogota. And they made their way to the main square. And there they always have a little shouty sort of rally. There might be some fisticuffs with some local police. But by and large I think it went pretty well. The mayor came out. She's something else. She's a nasty piece of work. Totally embedded in identity politics. She's apparently the first lesbian, like anyone gives a damn. Snogged up a lady. I wouldn't say marriage because I don't acknowledge marriage between same-sex couples. So her partner, anyway, so they're well into identity politics. and I got some more details here. So basically, she says that she would help them. Now she's saying she can't help them, and she's blaming a government minister for that. Problem is that she said that she would help them, and she's not helping them now. The other thing is that they've made this carrot. They've come a long way. They're supposed to be poor people, but somehow they've got transport, food, protection, chaperones, they've got tents, they've got everything they need for camping, and it's not cheap. So somebody is funding them, and they're being funded as a wedge against the government, as a kind of barrier protection to criminal organizations in their area, in their part of Colombia. So it's very, very sinister. Like again, I say that they are being victims. The problem is that they're picking social leaders that are most likely guerrilla activists or linked to activism, left-wing Marxist ideology. I wouldn't say they're entirely innocent themselves, and they've been caught up in what I would call a gang fight, a gang warfare that's going on here in Colombia. So when you hear social leaders being murdered, I wouldn't just put it entirely down to the social leader being an angel. There's something that I prescribe to here: activist by night, activist by day, guerrilla fighter by night. So I wouldn't exempt them totally from blame, and I wouldn't say that they're entirely innocent either. But one thing is for sure is that they are being used as a wedge and a shield to protect certain ideological groups and their illegal activities, namely in the narco trade here in Colombia, and the government. So the other thing is, and I want to leave you with this, is that they were walking, there's pictures, it was tweeted out by the former president, Álvaro Uribe, and it's basically a banner that they hung over a footbridge, and the procession went underneath. There was no complaints or anything. There was no uproar or anything by the crowd. They all seemed to complicitly march under it and acknowledge the banner. And the banner just basically said that the solution is to murder or have just to have Uribe dead, the former president, which is he's largely accredited for taking the fight to the Marxist groups and defeating them and bringing them to the negotiating table, which Santos later, the next president, took as a credit to his own presidency. So a lot of the progress here in Colombia could be attributed to Uribe and his success in fighting these dangerous Marxist groups. So there you go. There's the link between the open link between these so-called indigenous groups of racial identity and left-wing Marxists. So I'll leave you with that. Check out the other videos. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate here from Colombians that have been totally and utterly indoctrinated by left-wing Marxist ideology that has conquered Colombia. It's like the second Inquisition, the second invasion of Latin America by the Europeans.